of why the Lakers need another big man. The Lakers really had a ton of opportunity to sign a big man after Mo Bamba went down, right? And you knew Anthony Davis wasn't going to play back-to-backs, and yet you didn't even sign somebody to a 10-day contract. Now, I'm not going to go into crazy depth into that because I already made a video about that specifically. I will link that video down in the description below. Go check it out after this video. But with the clear and obvious point of like, hey, we need a big man, the Lakers should still sign one. It wouldn't hurt. It would help. You have Anthony Davis, who we have another back-to-back. Is he going to play in that back-to-back, right? We played the Jazz and the Clippers, which both of those games we're very likely going to need, and you're probably going to need Anthony Davis. Now, LeBron should very likely be back in time for those games, but still, it would be nice to have Anthony Davis in games that are very likely going to be must-wins. Now, Mo Bamba, he will likely be back for the playoffs. He's out for the rest of the regular season, most likely. Maybe he plays like the last game or two, but realistically, he'll probably miss the rest of this season. And then if we get into the playoffs, then he would return for the playoffs. But even then, he's still very raw. He's very undisciplined, gets into foul trouble a lot. His ability to stretch the floor is very needed, right? That would be a solid addition, shooting 40% from three. Also, his ability as a help defender and shot blocker, right? Big body with a huge, insane, like almost cartoonish wingspan, right? Again, that would help. But I still personally would love to see a veteran-led center. Somebody like a DeMarcus Cousins. I wanted Hassan Whiteside, but now he's playing for, I believe, Puerto Rico now. He's gone overseas to go play. But, those guys, they usually have NBA clauses. But regardless, even if it's not him, a DeMarcus Cousins, Serge Ibaka, somebody that has the discipline, has the understanding, has been there, done that, been to the playoffs, been to a finals, stuff like that. That would be very helpful and utilized on this Laker roster. But even then, even if you do have another center, Mo Bamba and Anthony Davis, it doesn't hurt, right? Give Anthony Davis a spell, give him a rest, have him not have to play, 40 minutes a game. That would be valuable getting into the playoffs. Even in the playoffs, if we end up playing Denver, right, it would be nice to have just multiple centers and multiple bodies to throw at him over a 7-game series and weigh him and wear him down over the course of a game. Now, the other alternative, though, would be instead of going the veteran-led, going and getting a young sort of project-level center who maybe he can come in and make an impact, but even if it's not like a massive impact, because again, Anthony Davis very likely is going to play 35 to 38 minutes a game at the center position, so you just need a guy that can come in for 10 minutes or so and just kind of spell Anthony Davis and just be productive out there. You don't have to be a star. You don't have to be anything crazy. Obviously, if we can get a guy that gives us 15 and 15, sure, that wouldn't hurt at all. But realistically, just need a guy that come in, give us a handful of points, give us a handful of rebounds, get a couple shots, just make things difficult and make it so it's not a layup drill at the rim like we saw in the Rockets game. And so many come to mind. Now, originally, I kind of liked the idea of Moses Brown, but we got reports today that the Nets actually are signing him or have signed him at this point. So that's off the table, although I think he would have been a nice addition, somebody that could have came in, a young type player that could really kind of, do what we need, fill in small gaps, and just be a guy that, can relieve Anthony Davis, right? He'd be a bit of a project, but he's still young, 23, I believe. But nonetheless, he's off the table, unless, 10 days from now or whatever, he becomes available. Nerlens Noel, we'll see what happens with him. And the Nets, if they decide to not re-sign him to a 10-day, maybe the Lakers could look at a Nerlens Noel, try to bring him over, but there's kind of, the whole clutch issue with him, so question marks there. But I think that somebody like a Vernon Carey, right? I haven't really talked about him. Many people have wanted me to talk about him, so let's talk about him. He's a guy he's 22 years old, right? Solid addition, 6'10" size, a guy that is young, he's big, he's physical, and can be a real asset. Again, he'd be a bit of a project. His numbers don't really stand out as far as like NBA minutes goes. The last he played with the Wizards. He played 11 games, and in those 11 games, he averaged under a point, under an assist, 1 rebound, under a block, under a steal. But granted, he only played 2.5 minutes per game, so not really a ton of sample size to go off of. The most he's ever played was with Washington. He did have a 3-game stint in which he played 9 minutes, and in that 9 minutes, he gave them 4 points, 2.5 rebounds, and then just a third of a steal, block, so on and so forth. So again, he's a guy that can come in and just be a project, but be more of a big body. Just rebound, be a lob threat, maybe play some physical defense, be a body to throw at people, stuff like that. That would be really nice. He's not really a floor stretching big, at least from what we've seen. Although in the G League, he's had some real success. He's averaged, I believe it's 22 points, 9 rebounds, and like 2.5 blocks per game. But we've seen a lot of G League guys not translate well into the NBA. You could be a monster and a great player in the G League. Doesn't mean you will be in the NBA, right? There's a lot of guys that look raw, wet behind the ears. I wouldn't mind it, especially if the Lakers have questions with Mo Bamba. So Mo Bamba's under contract next year for another $10 million, but it's non-guaranteed. So they could do multiple things. One, they could just keep him, right? Ride that contract. 2, they could, basically restructure, give him a new contract and work out a new deal and extend him in a way, maybe wave him off of that and then end up picking him up, or, they could figure it out. They could get him maybe long-term, or they could look to go and trade him, right? Like, so $10 million in salary, say, I'm just throwing out names, but let's say, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner are available again in the offseason. Like, you could take, Malik Beasley and, Davon Reed and Mo Bamba and go get those two. Again, not saying it'll happen. I'm not saying they should do it. I'm not saying anything. It's just an example of like an option that they could have in the offseason. Even if it's not him, maybe like Kyrie. Maybe they want to keep D'Lo and they want to work out a deal to sign and trade for Kyrie. Something like that. Whatever. Right? Those are options. And then in that case, bringing in a guy like Vernon Carey could really help, right? You could go and get a Vernon who could come in and kind of be that development guy who's a couple years younger from Mo Bamba that you could grow, develop, and kind of become the center of the future or a backup center. That would definitely be an option. And then you don't have to draft one this year, right? You could draft another position, maybe grab a sizable wing that you can grow and develop, because especially in today's NBA, right? So I don't mind the idea of him coming in. Now, from a playoff position, I would rather go with DeMarcus Cousins or somebody along those lines and go get like a Vernon Carey or a Moses Brown or something like that in the offseason. Bring one of them in, sign them to like a 2-year, 3-year deal, whatever, for like a vet minimum contract or, a minimum contract. You could do something like that and just get a veteran, experienced big to ride out the rest of this season. Maybe Cousins works out great and maybe you keep him, or something like that. It's just, when it comes to the playoffs, that's my concern. Even with Mo Bamba, right? Like, I think Mo Bamba can be helpful and have an impact, but how much? He's not experienced in the playoffs. He's a guy that, he doesn't have, he's had some success, right? Even with us, the Lakers, he's shown the ability to stretch the floor and have solid games. And I could see him having one of those games in the playoffs. But then again, the lack of discipline, like having him match up with the Joker for even just 5 minutes, he's getting abused, right? Even some of these other teams, even if it's not like the Joker, even guys like Valanciunas, who most people don't think of as like this elite center, but he's a skilled big man who can, put the ball in the hoop. We've seen him have monster games. It's very limited when you have these young type of centers. That's my problem. You're really throwing them into the fire and hoping that they can deliver against guys that have been there, done that, have the experience, stuff like that, right? That's a big concern that I have. But for a future plan, which the Lakers have, all of their moves, all of their trades, everything that they've put together, aren't just for this season. They made the moves for like, hey, this gives us a chance this season, but really this is for the foreseeable future, right? We're probably going to have most of these guys for the foreseeable future. So they could be looking at it like that. Let's bring in a big man. Personally, if I'm being honest, I don't think they bring anybody in. If they were going to, they probably would have. And the Rockets game was the best opportunity to do so. And now it's like the end of the day and we still haven't gotten anybody. And we got a game, on Friday tomorrow. So it's like, I just don't really see them bringing anybody in. But I wouldn't be against Vernon Carey if they wanted to give him a shot. Kind of see what he has between now and the rest of the season. Give him some spot minutes or something like that. Or just bring him in as like a development guy. It couldn't hurt. And it doesn't hurt to have an extra just big body on the court. Not just that, but you could even run some like experimental lineups, which that is a concern in and of itself given the situation we're in. But with Mo Bamba's ability to stretch the floor and be a help defender, maybe you could slot him at the 4 in certain matchups, especially against a team like Minnesota. Right, you could have him just kind of match up the Twin Tower-wise next to Anthony Davis and then give Vernon Carey some minutes, or maybe play him next to Vernon Carey or play Vernon Carey at the 5, let AD play the 4. It gives you some options. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Would you like Vernon Carey? Would you not? Are you more like, yeah, get a vet guy, get a DeMarcus Cousins, get an Ibaka, get, whomever. Or you like, no, like, let's get the young guy, let's bring him in, work him out, see how he does. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments.